In the next few videos,
I'll be explaining how to make plates in Fusion 360 and applying that to this drive, finishing this X drive base we have here. Now, this isn't a full video on how to make X drive bases, but I will explain some of the design rationale behind this X drive base because it's somewhat relevant to the plate creation. Okay. Key thing to know about plate creation is that it can have, because it's a custom plate, it can have all sorts of wacky dimensions because these kind of plates are made of Delrin and cut on the laser cutter, which can handle weird dimensions, unlike humans cutting with like a bandsaw or something, right? So just keep that in mind as I go through this. So for starters, all the wheels in the next drive base should be at 45-degree angles. You can see that here, and it should be close to a perfect square. Now you can see this drive base here is basically a rectangle. It's not a square, but it's pretty close to one, so it still functions effectively as an X drive base. Now getting to some of the details, which are relevant. You know, when you're lining up holes across C channels, you want the holes to actually line up, right? So for this 34 hole C channel going across, it lines up perfectly on both the left and right side, right? And I kind of built the module from there. There's not really much aligning going on over here. I can make the geometry basically whatever I want because I'm just going to create a plate that wraps around and connects these C channels together, right? And so the same thing goes for this piece. This piece is centered following this C channel here, right? So because there's a gap here, that really doesn't matter because I'm making a custom plate that connects the two C channels together, right? So in most cases, you want to just line up the holes of things that aren't very flexible, like a C channel joining a C channel, right? In this case over here, I will say that I did edit the C channel because in this example, if I lined it up perfectly, that would pull this C channel into clipping into the wheel, which is not physically possible and not something you want. And so alternative would have been moving it to this hole to the right here, but that wastes about half an inch of space, which I couldn't afford to waste. So I settled for creating this janky looking hole here, right? But in general, you want to make your C channel holes line up as much as possible. Okay, one more thing I'll point out is that between these two C channels here, I used standard spacers. I didn't want to use some kind of custom spacer. So the distance between these two is 1.6 inches as measured in the CAD because there's gear inserts and whatever. It chalks up to 1.6 inches, right? And normally that would screw up aligning holes across these two C channels here. If I use some kind of standard plate, you can see minimum distance is 1.662 inches. There isn't some kind of plate that has that kind of increment, but we're making a custom plate, so that doesn't matter.